Welcome back to Sampstra Games, the place to find new strategy games, and welcome to my guide on Field of Glory 2 Medieval. Today we're going to focus on cohesion tests. So first I'm going to tell you what a cohesion test is, then I'm going to talk to you about when is it invoked, and then we're going to go over the details like modifiers and rerolls, and finally I'm going to give you just some additional information or tips and tricks that you might be interested when it comes to cohesion tests. Now if you already know quite a bit about the game and are not interested in basics and things like that, use the timestamps below to kind of jump ahead. Alright, now before I tell you what a cohesion test is, I actually first need to talk to you about cohesion or morale in the game. So the goal of the game is to get 40 or 60% of enemy army to become routed. How do you do that? By lowering morale. There are 4 levels of morale: steady, then disrupted, then fragmented, and then routing, which is what you want. What cohesion tests do, very simply, is they just change the state of the morale. They can move it up or down 1 level. The cohesion test is a roll of 2 6-sided dice. If the result of the cohesion test is 6 or above, you have succeeded the cohesion test, and if it's 5 or below, you have failed. More information on this will be further into the guide. I am now going to introduce 2 types of cohesion tests, positive and negative cohesion tests. If you look through the manual, they're not called this way, but I think it's easier to think of them this way. A positive cohesion test, if you succeed it will increase your morale. For example, if you're fragmented and you succeed cohesion test, you will increase to disrupted. This is called rallying. If you fail positive cohesion test, you will remain at the morale you are. So if you are fragmented, you will just stay fragmented. Then we've got negative cohesion tests. These are the most common, and negative cohesion tests, if you fail them, you will lower your morale. If you succeed them, you will stay at the same morale. So let's say you're fragmented. If you fail a cohesion test, you become routed. If you succeed a cohesion test, you will stay fragmented. Now the fact that the unit succeeded its negative cohesion test will be displayed on the battlefield by the words held firm. Now let's talk about when a cohesion test is invoked. So we'll start with the negative cohesion test. When a negative cohesion test is invoked. Negative cohesion test is invoked if you suffer significant total shooting casualties above 10% in a turn, or if you lose a round of close combat. What does it mean to lose a round of close combat? It means that you inflict significantly less damage than the enemy. You can see this on the display in the battlefield. If 2 units are in a close combat, one of them has a red number above them instead of orange, then that means that this unit lost the round of combat. It took significantly more damage than the other one. If they're both yellow or orange, then it's like a draw. Okay? You can also invoke a negative cohesion test if you see a friendly unit break or a general in line of command is incapacitated nearby. Finally, if you try to fall back, which means that you try to move backwards while you're in range of enemy non-light troops. You will see this in the display of battlefield that the hex you're trying to move to is going to be sort of like a golden color, and that means that you're falling back, so that's something you don't usually want to do. When is a positive cohesion test invoked? If you have a unit that's disrupted, fragmented, or routed, and has been this way for at least 1 turn, then there is a chance that it will take a cohesion test. The chance is lower if a unit is routed, and there is an exception. If the unit has a general, it will always test the positive cohesion test. There are some exceptions when a routed unit will not take a cohesion test, and that's if they're being pursued or if they suffered more than 10% losses from shooting in the previous enemy turn. Okay? Let's actually talk more detail. How exactly does it work? What are the modifiers and rerolls that I maybe mentioned in the beginning of this guide? So the cohesion test works like this. If you have a unit that's going to a cohesion test, it will roll 2 6-sided dice and it will add the result together. And if it has 6 or more, it will succeed the cohesion test, and it will have less than 6, it will fail the cohesion test. But there's a lot more detail to it. Essentially, the different units get rerolls. So if you have untrained troops, they will reroll 6s. If you have superior troops, they will reroll 1s. And if you have elite troops, they will reroll 1s and 2s. So the higher the quality of the unit, the better rerolls it's going to have. Now, after these rerolls have happened, they will also be modifiers. So you can see all the modifiers on the screen right now. This is the table from the manual, but I'm going to go over some important ones. So the most important, I think, modifier is actually coming from the current state. So if a unit that's disrupted will get -1 modifier, if it's fragmented, -2. If it's broken, -3. Then, if a unit has suffered heavy total shooting casualties this turn, it will also get negative modifier. If a unit is being shot by heavy artillery, it will also get a negative modifier. If a unit has certain percentage of its original men lost, it will also gain a negative modifier. This means that if you do a lot of damage, you're more likely to lower the morale of your enemy. There's also a negative modifier if a unit is being flanked or if a unit loses close combat. Alright, so now that you know how the cohesion test works and when it is involved, let's talk about some additional information that you might want to have. One of the most important information here is that a unit cannot drop cohesion twice in the same turn from shooting or ranged attacks. So, let's say unit was steady, you have been shooting at it, you got it down to disrupted. There is no point in keeping shooting at it because it cannot drop the cohesion again, it cannot go from disrupted to fragmented. Sometimes though, you might want to shoot anyway because you might want to get it to outer break. I will be making a separate guide on what outer break is and when you would want to focus on it, but that's not part of this video. Now you can drop the enemy's unit cohesion twice if you're doing close combat. How would that work? Well, you would first have to attack with melee combat and lower the cohesion level, let's say from steady to disrupted, and then the second attack would have to their modifiers would have to lower the cohesion test low enough that it goes before a double drop level. And in that case, the unit will fail the cohesion test twice. A unit that is fragmented may break if charged by another unit, even if it became fragmented as a result of a previous impact close combat this turn. So if you have a fragmented unit, you might want to keep charging at it because then it has a chance to break. But it is very rare that you would get a unit from steady to disrupted to fragmented in one turn just through melee combat. You can do it with a combination of ranged and melee combat. Unit will retain information from its last cohesion test within this turn. So, let me paint you a picture. A unit starts its turn, it's let's say steady, and it has been attacked and it went through its first cohesion test. It was attacked by a ranged attack and it rolled and it held firm. It's going to keep this result and any other ranged attack will have the same result unless some of the modifier changes. For example, let's say it rolled exactly a 6, so it just succeeded, so it held firm. Now, if you keep shooting, it will remain at the same level. The result will always be 6 unless you do enough damage to get unit has lost over 25% of its original men, then the modifier will change and now it's going to be 5 instead of 6 and then it's going to turn into disrupted. But it doesn't roll again every time you attack it, it keeps the result. However, it will roll again if you do a different type of attack. So they're essentially ranged and melee type of attack, and they will retain the results of their cohesion test for all the ranged attacks, and then there will be a different cohesion test for all the melee attacks, okay? So why is that interesting? Why am I sort of focusing on this so much? Well, because this means that you can make a unit drop 2 morale levels in one turn. If you can get them to be from steady to disrupted with your ranged attacks, you can then follow up with a melee attack to try to do it again. Now let's talk about flank and rear attacks, because a unit may automatically drop a cohesion level if it's being flanked or rear attacked, on top of all the cohesion tests we talked about previously, okay? When would that happen? If a flank charged unit is already in close combat against another unit, or it has already evaded this turn. It will automatically drop 1 cohesion level, and there will also be a bonus to the attacking unit on this one. And a unit can only suffer 1 automatic cohesion drop in a turn from flank or rear attacks, even if it's charged by multiple units. So I think this is all you need to know about cohesion tests. Let me know if you like this guide, and you can click on the right to watch my full playthrough of the Mongol invasion or some other guides. I'll see you there. Bye bye!